Hall of Famer Kurt Warner knows what it takes to get to a Super Bowl. He did it twice with the Rams and also with the Arizona Cardinals. He joins me to talk about the Chiefs and the Eagles and the brand new Chicago Bears and what Ben Johnson means for Caleb Williams. That's in a moment. I want to remind you the same game parlay is the way to go at the Bet Rivers Network. Yeah, check it out. Punch in your app today and have some fun with the big game. If you hit 2 or more, you earn squares that are worth bonus bets, profit boosts, and jackpots of up to $10,000. It's the same game parlay at Bet Rivers.
You're now watching the Danny Mac podcast on the Bet Rivers Network.
We've not been used to this sort of thing in Chicago. The Bears got their guy. Ben Johnson is the new head coach to take Caleb Williams into his second season. Hall of Famer Kurt Warner from NFL Network to assess with me. Kurt, thanks for the time. Shocking. Ben Johnson got his $13 million and the Bears got their guy. Break up the ball club.
Yeah, no kidding. It's exciting times with all the offensive pieces. Obviously, Caleb Williams there. I know a lot of the fan base out there wanted to get an offensive guy so we can see if Caleb can live up to that number one billing. So I'm excited. I like what Ben did in Detroit. I love what he did with Jared Goff. I love the system that he put together there. Now, there's no guarantees with all the weapons and the offensive line that they had in Detroit that it's going to look exactly the same in Chicago, but at least you've got the building blocks and you got a guy that I think understands offensive football really, really well. And, now it's about being able to lead men and all the stuff that goes into being a head coach. But from an offensive standpoint, I'm excited about this from Caleb Williams' standpoint and the offensive playmakers that they have in Chicago.
Typically, Kurt, I would suggest grading news conferences a waste of time. But in this case, I think we really needed to see a guy who looked like a leader. And Ben Johnson won his news conference. They're only words, but I liked what I heard. Did you hear the news conference, and what is your read on him as a leader?
Yeah, I've only seen bits and pieces of it. And to me, I think there's a lot of guys that, can do press conferences really well. And I thought he looked the part for sure, which is obviously always something that you want. Somebody that looks and sounds the part, along with knowing what their resume is. But, I'm a believer that a lot of it comes down to how you handle the adversity and how you handle the challenges that come with being a head coach. And that to me is what really tells me where a guy is, not just looking at their past situation and not just looking at how they handle the media or how they sound. But it's what you do on a daily basis. It's what you do when things don't go your direction or when things don't play out perfectly early on, to be able to, stand up there, answer the questions, share the vision, stay steadfast in what you believe in, because I've seen this game change a lot of people. It's one thing to stand up there when everything's going great. It's another thing when things go against you. And so that to me is always the true tell, because I think there's a lot of guys that you look at, past and present in the league that, really seemed to be the part when everything was going well. And now we're starting to wonder, after hearing some things that they say and some things that they do when the pressure is put on them a little bit.
What specifically do you think Ben Johnson needs to put into the head of his quarterback?
I think the biggest thing is just figuring out who Caleb is and what Ben needs to do and what Ben needs to build to allow him to put his best foot forward. That to me is what so much of, whether it's head coach and quarterback or offense coordinator and quarterback, that's what allows the mesh to happen, is the vision of the coordinator connects with the vision of the quarterback. And now it allows both to be the best version of themselves. And that's going to be the challenge, that Jared Goff and Caleb Williams are different players, do different things well, have different kinds of backgrounds. And so it's not going to be just, cookie cutter. We can take what we did in Detroit, and let's apply it over here in Chicago, and it'll look the same, and it'll be just as successful. And both quarterbacks, that's not how it works. And so, it's really, I think, both of them having to learn each other, make concessions in certain areas, but build something together, build something unique together, that allows both of them to be at their best. That's what you're trying to find, and that's what you have to figure out, because there's a lot of coaches that have done something a certain way their entire career, and they've had great success with it, and now they find themselves in a place where it's like, oh wait, that's not going to work. Now what do we do? Now how do we figure this out? And sometimes you have a veteran quarterback that can help you, a guy that's been there, a guy that understands what he does well and what kind of offense he wants. When you're going into a situation with a young quarterback that doesn't really know that yet, doesn't really understand, hasn't been in a lot of different systems, so to speak, to be able to really have their influence on things, I think it can be sometimes a little bit more challenging, because they sit back and say, okay, coach, you tell me what to do and I'll go do it, as opposed to knowing, hey, coach, I don't like this and here's why. I like this and this is why. And being able to express that, and build around that, I think, is going to be key.
Mm-hmm. Of the 5 early first-round quarterbacks who played regularly this year, Jaden Daniels posted the highest grades. Caleb Williams, second or third. He only threw 6 interceptions, Kurt, and that's crazy good. I'd like to see him throw a couple more. I think he took too many sacks. You never think you'd say that, You want to protect the football, but when you lead the league in sacks, that's on you as well as the O-line, isn't it?
Oh, no. I mean, every situation is different. So let's say that. I mean, you can't just look at, a quarterback that gets sacked a lot and say, oh, it's all about the quarterback. And you can't just look at a quarterback that gets sacked a lot and say it's all about the offensive line. Every sack is different. I say the same thing about interceptions. Every interception has its own story. But yeah, no question about it that a number of the sacks this year in Chicago were on Caleb Williams, holding the football too long, not seeing what he needed to see, not getting through his progressions fast enough. So yeah, definitely the case. And so just like you said, I'd like to see him throw more interceptions too. And I know everybody looks and goes, why do you want him to throw more? What I want to see is a quarterback that's confident, that believes in what he's seeing and believes in the throws that he's making. And that doesn't mean he's going to make every throw. That doesn't mean he's not going to make a bad decision. But I want to see a guy that's playing confidently and attacking down the field. And there were moments when we saw that from Caleb, but for the most part, I didn't see that enough from Caleb. And it might turn into an interception or two, but just like I always believed when I was playing, I didn't care how many interceptions I threw. My goal was to threaten the defense every chance I had. And I believe that even if I threw an interception or two in a game, that it would give me a whole bunch more plays within that game, because the defense was on their heels and the defense was backing up and the defense was scared of what we were doing, as opposed to attacking, downhill and shrinking the field and making everything harder. So now I'm holding the football, or I'm not as confident. And so a lot of it is your mentality and how you play the game and what you believe on every snap. And that's why I would like to see Caleb play more confidently and attack and more aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it leads to another mistake or two, I believe it's going to lead to a whole lot more plays that are being made that is going to make them a better football team.
Wide receiver is a high-risk first-round pick. And the Bears took one at number 9, the 4th player chosen in Rome, Odunze. There were flashes for Odunze in his first year, but he didn't dazzle. I was a little more hopeful they would have a spark together. How important is that to the future of this team offensively, that Williams gets Odunze more involved? DJ Moore, terrific, but you need more from Odunze, and you need more from your tight end too.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is, what does he become? Yeah, I think it's so hard to try to judge guys based on their rookie year. We've always said this throughout the league. We said it as players, that most players make their greatest strides from year 1 to year 2. Year 1 is getting acclimated with everything and learning the new playbook and the speed and what it takes, and then just feeling comfortable and believing that it doesn't matter if you're a number 1 pick. You still have to go into the NFL and prove to yourself that you belong. Prove to yourself that you can be a superstar at that level. And then your confidence, just like we were talking about the confidence of Caleb, all of a sudden your confidence grows. Hey, all that stuff I did in college and all that stuff I'm used to, I can do that here. I can make those same plays here. So it takes some time. So I'm always leery to judge anybody after just their first year. But I think the big question is, what will Rome become? Because, is he a true number one guy? Obviously, they have DJ Moore now, so he doesn't have to be the number one guy right now. But will he have to become that within this offense? Does he have the capabilities of doing that? Because he's not necessarily a burner, and he's a great route runner and does some things. But, when I watched him on film this year, I had some questions just about what he was doing and why he was doing it and some of those things. So I'm going to reserve myself for another year to see where he goes and what he becomes. But there's no question that worst case scenario, they're going to count on him to be a really, really good number two behind DJ Moore. And I'm going to have to see some more consistency from him as well for him to kind of step into that role.
Dan Campbell lost both of his coordinators, not only Ben Johnson, who's here, he lost Aaron Glenn to the Jets. The quarterback situation has to play out in Minnesota, what they're going to do with Darnold and J.J. McCarthy. But who right now, based on the way the rosters are shaped today, it's a silly question, but I'm asking it anyway, who today is the favorite in the NFC North?
I still think I want to see Detroit. I still think, especially from the offensive standpoint, that they're the most talented team, whether you're talking about up front or, on the back end with all their skill players that they have. The quarterback played as well as anybody in the league this year. So I know they had some injuries on defense. A number of those guys are going to come back. But, yeah, we have to see what the scheme looks like. We have to see if they can, from a scheme standpoint, do the things that they did this year. But I would still give them the edge right now until you show me that they can't. And then, with the quarterback issues, it's such an important thing that I don't really know where to put Minnesota right now until I figure out what they're going to do. Is Sam Darnold coming back? Are they going with J.J. McCarthy? So I would probably just kind of slide Green Bay in there at the second spot, just because I kind of know what they are. I know who their quarterback is. I want to see more consistency from him, but would probably slide them in at 2, Minnesota at 3, again, depending on how that plays out quarterback-wise. And then Chicago, I'm still going to put them at 4 right now until we see some growth, and specifically some growth from Caleb.
Mm-hmm. If Andy Reid wins the Super Bowl next Sunday, is it time to start talking about him in the same company as Bill Belichick as the greatest of all time?
Yeah, I think you start having that conversation. What are you looking at? I think you still have to look at Bill Belichick for, everything that he's done, the longevity, the period of time that they were great. So I think he still kind of is the standard. But sure, Andy is sneaking up on that. And he's had a great run here. And so I think you just put him in the conversation as one of the greatest that the league has ever seen. I'm not sure we put him at the greatest quite yet. And I think it's kind of the same with Patrick. 3 in a row is pretty special, and it elevates him, another notch. But Tom still played in 10 of those things. And so he's still the standard right now. But no question, I think those guys, if they notch, put another notch in the belt, they're creeping up.
What intrigues you most, Kurt, as I let you run, about Chiefs and Eagles?
Well, I think what always intrigues me about the Chiefs is I continually look at them every week and go, how is this team going to win a championship? Like, I don't see it. I don't see it on paper, and specifically on the offensive side, to go, that's not a Super Bowl winning team. Like, who's their guy on offense? Like, who's the guy besides Patrick? And obviously you have Travis. But those other guys on the out, they're just guys right now. They're not, DeAndre Hopkins isn't DeAndre Hopkins anymore. These young guys, Xavier Worthy and, Kareem, who are they? So I think that's the thing that intrigues me about the Chiefs is, how good are they that they continue to find ways to win, even though when I look at their roster, to me, it doesn't even compare to where the Eagles are. So that's kind of the storyline from the Chiefs side is, man, how do they keep doing this and finding a way and then getting all these, you know, integral just kind of pieces to lift their game at the most important times, and will they do that again? And then I think on the other side, it's really just about the trenches for the Eagles. They're the best team in the trenches, not of the two, but maybe the best team in the league in the trenches, offensively and defensively. And that's going to be the key. They got to win the trenches to me in this game, as they have all year long. But that physical battle up front, to see, can the Chiefs match that up front? Because I think that's where it's going to be most intriguing, slowing down Saquon, Jalen Carter, slowing down him and company on the defense. They just, they got talent all over the place, the Eagles. We said it from the beginning part of the years, maybe the most talented roster in the NFL, and it seems to have come to fruition and their chance to play in the Super Bowl. But the mystique of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and Spags and them playing their best in the biggest moment is what intrigues you, even if they maybe don't have the best roster on paper.
My guest was a spider bite away from becoming a Chicago Bear in the late 90s. Yeah. Maybe the Bears wouldn't have had to draft Cade McNown had it not been for that insect bite. Kurt Warner, a pleasure catching up. Thanks a bunch, man.
You got it. Take care.
That's Hall of Famer Kurt Warner. Randy Merkin is my producer who gets me all these A-list guests. I want to thank Merk for a job well done as always. Sam Michael, my executive producer. Thank you. Adam Delavid runs the show at the Bet Rivers Podcast Network. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Enjoy Super Bowl 59. I'm Dan McNeil.